you are in the right place at the right time. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Unity of Phoenix. My name is Richard Maraj. I'm the senior minister here, and it is a joy and a blessing to be with you all this morning. We have a fabulous service in store for you. So glad you're here, and welcome.
And my name is Jimmy Scott, pastoral care minister here, and my pleasure to welcome you here this morning as well. Let's officially kick our service off by affirming our, what is it called? Mission statement together. One of those senior moments that seem to be coming far too frequently nowadays for some strange reason. However, let's do it together. Unity of Phoenix is a loving spiritual community that welcomes all people and honors all paths to God. We are dedicated to transforming lives by inspiring and awakening individuals to discover God's Spirit within them. Amen. Now's that time in our service for a time of prayer and meditation.
Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel God's mighty power and God's grace. I can feel the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
Every time I hear those words, I immediately go to that quiet place within my heart, within my soul, and remind myself that the presence and power of God is within me and all around me. And in that process, I am also reminded to let go of all the angst and the anxiety and the ordinary stuff of life. So as we enter into this time of prayer and meditation this morning, I invite you to do likewise. To set aside all of the busyness of your life. To set aside your calendar of events. To set aside your concerns about daily life and about the chaotic nature of life in this world. Just remind yourself that the underlying presence and power of God is always present in the universe. And as we all know, with God, all things are possible. So for the next few moments, I just invite you into the silence. And to feel the energy of the quietness. We've all been blessed in myriad ways. So in recognition of that reality, may we give thanks in the name and through the nature of the living Spirit of God. And so it is. Amen.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And leave us not in temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Again, everyone. And a shout out to everybody who tunes in and watches us online. So how many people would like to have a better life, but you always find yourself struggling and fighting to attain it? Anybody ever find that? Or how many people would like to be happier and more successful, but you haven't quite figured out how to do it yet? Anybody? Or how many people ever find you're so busy, you have so many things to do that there's not enough time to do all the things you need to do? Anybody ever find that? Every one of us is striving for a better life. Everyone is looking for the secret to success, or the path to prosperity, or the way to greater achievement and fulfillment. You know, lots and lots of books have been written about how to make our lives better, how to be more successful. Personal growth books, business books. One of my favorite all-time is Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Anybody ever read that book? Fabulous book. And the thing I love about the book is that top 3 habits are my favorite. And the number 1 is to be proactive. And it says that you are responsible for your life. You are the creator. That you make your life by the choices and the decisions that you make. Be proactive. Number 2 is begin with the end in mind. Know what it is you want to experience, what it is you want to create. Have a desire, have goals, have an intention. Know what it is you want to work towards. And the third one is the one I want to talk about today. The third one is put first things first. You know, even sometimes when we know what we want, sometimes we tend to be a little ineffective and keep struggling and fighting to achieve our goals because we're not very good at setting our priorities. Not very good at doing the most important things first. You know, sometimes we look really busy, but we tend not to be getting anywhere, and it is a matter because we don't always know what our priorities are. You know, sometimes we think it's because we don't have enough time. No, we all have enough time. The question is, what are you doing with your time? And are you spending it on the things that will be most beneficial, most efficient, most productive, and most valuable and helpful to you? How many people have ever found that you've known what to do, you knew something was good to do, and you still didn't do it? Anybody ever do that? You know, we always have these things. We know that we should have a healthy diet. We know we should exercise. We know we should floss every day, but we don't always do these things. You know, it is amazing how we sometimes don't do these things. There are lots of important priorities in our lives, but I will tell you, there is a big and powerful one that we tend to overlook and tend to hugely underutilize. It is a power that will give us everything that we need. It is the source of all life. It is a source of health. It is a source of strength and wisdom and creativity and abundance. And it's fully available and fully accessible to each and every one of us, and yet we tend to not have it as a priority in our lives and not tend to use it as consistently. And this priority is to put God first. to put the very source that makes everything possible as a number one priority to give our time and attention to. Isn't it amazing how sometimes we don't put prayer as a priority, or God as a priority, or our spiritual practice as a priority? I ask you, in your life, how high of a priority is God and your spiritual life a priority in your life? How high is it? You know, Jesus gives us a really clear idea of what our spiritual priority should be, and it's in the book of Matthew, and it says this. He said, "Seek ye first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you." Seek ye first the source and a greater connection with the energy that makes all things possible, and all that you seek will come. All that you seek will fall into place. All that you seek will flow into your life. Now, notice it says, seek ye first. Notice it doesn't say seek ye second, or seek ye third, or seek ye occasionally, or seek ye periodically, or seek ye only as a last resort, or seek ye only when you're desperate and everything else has failed, or seek ye when you're totally freaked out. It says seek ye first. Could it be any clearer what the priority is? Is to seek a greater and conscious awareness of God, and everything will be well. Things will flow into your life. Seek ye first. It's a powerful and important message and a life lesson for all of us of how to make our lives better, how to be more successful and fulfilled. Kind of reminds me of this atheist who was rowing on this famous lake, and suddenly the Loch Ness monster comes out of the lake and picks him up by the teeth right out of the boat. And the Loch Ness monster is just about to eat him when he panics and he screams out, "God, help me! Help me, God! God, help me, please!" And then everything is frozen, and you hear a booming voice from the heavens say, "So, you say you don't believe me, and now suddenly you're calling me and asking for my help." And then the guy looks up, the atheist looks up, and he says, "Come on, God, give me a break. 5 minutes ago I didn't believe in the Loch Ness monster either." All right. A few smattering of applauses, but I'll take it. I'll take it. I'm surprised they got any at all. So anyway, how many people here believe that the path to a happier, that the path to a more meaningful and joyful and successful life includes and is based on the depth of our spiritual life and our relationship with God? We all believe that. And how many believing that would still say you could do a better job in making God a higher priority in your life? We would all agree. Today we are beginning our annual series, The Songs of Life. For the next 5 weeks, we're going to look at famous songs that will inspire us and teach us how to live our lives in greater ways. I bet every single one of us has some song that you heard at a difficult moment in your life that inspired you, that motivated you, that comforted you. Music is so powerful. I think it's so much more powerful than the spoken word, because it can open our hearts and uplift us and take us to deep and amazing places, and there are a lot of great songs out there. Today we're going to start with Van Morrison's "When Will I Ever Learn to Live in God?" 1989. Avalon Sunset album. I was reading an interview about him, and one of the things I love, he's a very spiritual guy. A lot of his songs are very spiritual. And he says, "I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious." He said, religion's about institutions and churches, but spirituality is about your own inner journey and your relationship with God. And you know, he writes a song. This is a song of contrition. It's a song about being remorseful and having some regret in knowing that having a more God-centered life, putting God first, would be a better way to live. And instead, he chooses not to do that. And he chooses to go on a path that has him struggle and fighting. And that's why he asks himself the question, when will I ever learn to live in God? When will I ever learn to put God first? It's what he's saying. You know, so this is a powerful and important message for each and every one of us. And so the question is, how do you know when you're not putting God first in your life? What are the signs that we're not putting God first? Here are some signs. The first one is that we always say we're too busy to pray, we forget to pray, we don't have enough time to pray. Anybody ever say any of those? Just too busy, not enough time to pray. Next one is that we constantly look for other things that we think are going to give us comfort and satisfaction. Like sometimes we think that if we get more money, we're going to be happier. if we get more power, more status, more success, or get that big promotion, or when I meet that right person, we think that, and yet when we do, we still have a place in us that doesn't feel fulfilled, that doesn't feel joyful. We look outside of ourselves a lot. The next one is that we tend to be anxious about everything. We tend to get anxious and nervous about stuff all the time. Another one is that we tend to dwell and get stuck in the past. And then the last one is that we worry about the future. Not planning about the future, I mean worrying and be scared that things are going to get worse in the future. You know, I saw this cartoon, and it was at one of these spiritual fairs, and it had a thing about life regressions, past life, long line. And then they had one about telling your future, long line. Then one about mindful meditation, one person. And I think it's a pretty good sign that sometimes in our lives we spend more time worrying about the future and then, you know, regretting and getting stuck in the past and not enough time fully in the present. Because when we live in God, we live in the present. When Moses said, "Who should I say sent me?" God said, "Tell them I am that I am sent you." And it's a powerful message because it's saying I am that I am means that God is in the present. God is the now. Notice he didn't say I was that I was or I will be that I will be. He said I am that I am. And when we live in God, we are fully present and fully aware, fully conscious and fully active and embracing and participating in the beauty and the glory of life. When will I ever learn to live in God? When will I ever learn? He gives me everything I need and more. When will I ever learn? The truth of the matter is we already live in God. In the book of Acts chapter 17 verse 28 it says, Paul says, "It is in God that we live and move and have our very being," which means it is in love that we live and move and have our very being. It is in peace that we live and move and have our very being. It is in wisdom that we live and move and have our very being. We are already living and dwelling and moving and being in the full presence of God. Asking a human being where God is like asking a fish where water is. It's in you and you're in it and it's all around you. And yet we have this spiritual amnesia where we seem to forget, where we feel disconnected and so separate from God. Remember the story of the prodigal son where he took his inheritance and he wandered into a distant land and he squandered everything and he was eating with the pigs. And then my favorite line is it says, and then he came to himself. And he rose up and he returned back to the Father. That's a story not about distance. It's a story about a distance and a disconnect that happens within us. Is that we're always living in God, but sometimes we forget. You know that old line says, if you feel distant from God, who moved? Think about that. The only thing that moved is our lack of awareness and feeling disconnected from the truth that's already within us and all around us. Remember when Jacob said, I was in the house of the Lord and I knew it not. That I am always standing on holy ground. We are in the presence of God always. The question is our minds connected to that truth? Are we aware of that great truth? So the question is, how do we learn to live in God? How do we learn to get our consciousness and our minds fully immersed in the awareness of that great truth that is always there? And the first one is to do daily meditation. H. Emily Cady in her book Lessons in Truth says, every man must take time daily for quiet and meditation. In daily meditation lies the secret of power. No one can grow in either spiritual knowledge or power without daily meditation. Practice the presence of God just as you would practice music. No one would ever dream of becoming a master in music except by spending time daily alone with music. Daily meditation alone with God focuses on the divine presence within and helps bring that consciousness to us. And the thing about meditation, it has got to be consistent and it's got to be daily. Consistent and daily. Jesus prayed in the morning and at midday, in the afternoon, the evening, and the night. He prayed consistently. Not just praying when you need something, but pray to connect with that consciousness always. Because you know what happens when we pray consistently, even when we don't need it, is you build a foundation and a connection. You get grounded in God. You get centered and anchored in that divine presence. And it becomes an unshakable comfort and strength and faith that is in us. So daily prayer must be consistent daily prayer. And then the second one, it's got to be sincere and joyful. Sincere and joyful. Anybody ever look at prayer and you think, oh man, I got to pray. I better do it in the morning so I can just get it over with. Is it just me, or does that not sound joyful when you say, I got to get it over with? Think about this. This is connecting a greater conscious awareness with the very source that made the sun and the moon and the stars and the earth. Can you imagine connecting with that energy? Shouldn't that be a joyful, exciting thing that we want to do every single day? To open ourselves and to feel that creative power and energy that makes everything possible? Seek ye first, and all these things will be added unto you. So the first and important thing is daily prayer, that it needs to be consistent and it needs to be sincere from your heart and a joyful experience. Second way to live in God is that whenever things come up and become a big problem, like you ever get like a big bill and you just start freaking out, or some situation doesn't go well and then you're thinking, oh no, it's going to get worse. This thing's just going to get worse. I can't see it getting better. In those moments where we start freaking out and awfulizing and getting negative and getting dragged into the negativity, we need to think about God. Emmett Fox calls it the golden key. You want to improve your life? Stop thinking about your problems, start thinking about God. Then when you catch yourself freaking out or worrying about a problem, all you need to do is take a deep breath and say, God is here and now and all is well. God is here and now and all is well. It stops your mind from running into the future and awfulizing or worrying or getting stuck in the past. God is here and now and all is well. Just take a deep breath. God is here and now and all is well. Let's say that half voice together. God is here and now and all is well. Just take a deep breath. So all you need to do when things get triggered, just take a deep breath, stop thinking about the problem and say, God is here and now and all is well. Or you can always say, God is love, or God is my strength, God is my source. Say some God thing that'll help you get connected to think about God instead of your problem. And the third one is to remind yourself of the truth of who you are. You remember in that show, Lion King? You remember Simba ran away? He was scared. He thought he messed up. And then when he sees his father Mufasa, sees his image in the pond or lake or whatever, his father says to him, Simba, remember who you are. And the truth is, most of us run away and don't live up to the level of greatness that's in us, just like Simba. And the truth is, we need to remember who we are. You are a son or daughter of the living God. You are created in the image and likeness of God. You are the temple of the living God. You are the light of the world. The Bible says that over and over again. That's the truth. You are a spiritual genius. You are magnificent and brilliant in every way. That's the truth of who you are. And sometimes during the day, you need to just say to yourself, I am the son or daughter of the living God. I am created in the image and likeness of God. I am the temple of the living God. I am the light of the world. I am created in the image and likeness of God. Together. I am created in the image and likeness of God. I am the temple of God. Together. I am the temple of God. I am the light of the world. I am the light of the world. I am the son or daughter, whichever is appropriate, of the living God. I am the son of the living God. That's the truth. Remember who you are. If you want to live in God and truly have a consciousness and awareness of God, it is to seek God in meditation on a daily basis, consistently and joyfully. It is to think about God instead of your problem and catch you and just say to yourself, God is here and now and all is well. And remind yourself of the truth of who you are throughout the day. That I'm the son of the living God. I'm the temple of the living God. I am the light of the world. Remember who you are. And when we do these things, we will live in God, and things will begin to flow in our life a lot more joyfully, a lot more easily, a lot more fulfillingly. Much more meaningfully will our lives be. Do you know what the greatest asset God given us and our best friend and our worst enemy is? It is our minds. In our minds, we can literally freak ourselves out and worry and be filled with fear and tell ourselves horrible stories that can scare us. Anybody ever do that with your mind? You just start freaking out in your head, and yet your mind can take you to a happy place. Your mind can experience peace and calmness and insight and wisdom. The question is, how are you using your mind? That's how we connect with the mind of God, through our own mind. That's why Paul said, don't conform to the patterns of this world. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. When we renew our mind on a regular basis, we ground ourselves and anchor ourselves in the divine, and we're more in line and in the flow with God. Literally, when we renew our minds and transform our minds, we will transform our lives. As we live in God, we renew our minds and transform our lives. And here are 3 ways that living in God helps us change how we live our lives. The first one is, when you live in God, you will live in trust. You will live your life with trust. That at every moment you will trust that God loves you. Trust that God has a plan for you. Trust that God supports you. And when you trust that God is there loving you, you tend to feel safe. You tend to feel secure and reassured that everything's going to be okay. We tend to actually be more calm and more peaceful in our lives. And you know what that does? Paul calls it, you will have the peace that surpasses all human understanding when you trust that God is there for you. And it gives us the freedom to live. And the thing about trust is, it doesn't mean you have to know the answer right now. You just have to trust that you'll know it when you need it. You don't have to know how your broken heart's going to mend. You just have to trust that it will. You don't have to know how your family conflict is going to be resolved. You just have to trust that it will be. You don't have to know how to figure out the finances, your financial struggles. You just trust that it will resolve, that there's the resources, there's the strength. And the question is, do you trust it? Trust the ideas, trust the strength, trust the energy will be there exactly when you need it. See, and also, when we live in God, it means we can trust that we can reach out and risk. We can reach out and try something new. You can ask for what you need. You can say no. You can set a new boundary. You can let go of the past. Because when you trust, you can actually let go, because you know everything's going to be okay no matter what. Even if you don't know the answers, you can move forward with trust in your life and live a lot more freely. Second thing is that we can live with greater curiosity and openness. Curiosity doesn't sound very spiritual, but it is. Because you know what? A curious mind is open, and it's open to possibilities and new ideas. When we're not curious, our mind tend to be more rigid and inflexible. Do you know they did a study about curiosity? And they said, curious people, 5 things about them. They tend to be healthier. They tend to be more intelligent. They tend to be better connected socially in relationships. They tend to be happier and have more meaning in their lives. Because when someone's curious, they tend to see new possibilities, new ideas. They tend to be much more open, much more creative, and attract things in their lives. Leonardo da Vinci was voted the #1 genius of all time, and the #1 quality about him is that they said his curious mind made him see more possibilities. He invented and discovered more range of different things than anyone because of that curious mind. Sometimes we ask the question, why me? Curious people say, why not? Why not? What's new? What's other different ways we could solve this problem? What are new ways, new possibilities for my life? What are new ways for us to heal or to grow or to be more successful in our business? Everybody know Russell Wilson, the quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks? The guy's a little shorter than the average quarterback. All right, a fan. And the thing I love about him, one of the things his dad taught him, is that everybody always thought he's too short, he's not going to be successful. He's too short, he's not going to play in the NFL. He's too short, he's not going to be great. But one of the things his father instilled in him was a curious and open mindset. And he would always say to his son, he said, why not you? Why not you to be a great quarterback? Why not you to win the Super Bowl? Why not? And because of that mindset of being open and curious to all the possibilities, in his, second year he won the Super Bowl? Was it the second year? I mean, that's pretty amazing for a guy they didn't even think would make the NFL to win the Super Bowl in his second year. In the Gospel of Thomas, it says this. It says, if you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. And if you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. The fact is, every one of us has genius and talents and creativity in us, and it's our job to bring it forth. That when we bring it forth, it will not only bring more life and good into the world, it'll bring more life and good to us. And when we suppress our talents, our goals and dreams, it begins to eat away at us. It stunts us. It diminishes our joy and our passion, our energy. So my question is, what is in you that is time for you to be curious and open yourself to and let come forth? And whether it's in art or music or healing or teaching or working with animals or with the homeless or whatever it is, there is a gift in you that is meant to be shared, to give life to and to express it. And it will save you and it will bless others. Anna Mary Robertson started painting at the age of 78. And she kept painting until she was 100 years old. Some of us know her better as Grandma Moses, but she started painting at 78. Her painting called Sugaring Off, painted in 1943, in 2006, just a few years ago, just 10 years ago, sold for $1.2 million. And I'm not saying that to impress you, although I am. The reason, because it isn't about the money, the fact is at 78 years old, she felt called. The fact is, whether you're retired or whatever age or stage you are of your life, a different job, same job, there is something in you that wants to be born. Something in you that wants to be given life to, and it is your job to do it. And by having a curious and open mind, we can go deeper to discover what that is. Tony Melendez was a thalidomide child, born with no arms. At 16, he asked his dad, who had a guitar, to learn how to play it. I don't know if you've seen Tony Melendez play the guitar with his feet, but it's incredible. He also does a great job singing Let It Be by the Beatles, but it's powerful stuff. I give you this example of a 78-year-old woman and a man without arms bringing forth what's great, meaning we are all capable, we are all blessed, we all have something we're here to bring forth. The question is, are you going to be open with the possibilities of what that great thing is you're here to give life to? And the final one is when you live life in God, you live with overflowing joy. He gives me everything I need and more. When will I ever learn? If you look at your life, we cannot help but to realize how blessed we are, how good we have it, how supported we are, how much opportunities and goodness is in our lives. Barbara Bush, speaking to her alma mater, once said, life is supposed to be fun. So my question for you is, how much fun are you having with your life? Sometimes I think we're waiting till everything is perfect and everything is right and we get this right. It's like, how much are you letting yourself enjoy life now? Are you living life with overflowing joy, or you only let your joy just trickle out every now and then? The fact is, life is so much fun. Just to enjoy a sunset, it's amazing. The smell of coffee in the morning, followed by the smell of bacon and eggs in the morning. Especially when it's not being cooked by me. I mean, it's an incredible thing. It's a beautiful thing. Looking at the stars at night, there are so many things. The flowers, there's so much beauty. There's so much talent. There's so much goodness in the world. How can we not be overflowing with joy and enthusiasm and excitement? You know what joy is? Joy is an attitude that we bring to life. It's an attitude of appreciation and excitement. It's an attitude of being inspired and in awe and captivated by how magnificent life is. And it's so simple. It doesn't take a lot. It doesn't take a lot. One of the things I have a man cave in my garage, and it's got 2 leather couches, a picture of Muhammad Ali, the word dream, and the Trinidad flag, the Canadian flag, and the American flag. And I love to open my garage door and sit in my garage and just look out at the neighbors' yards. Really. Their yards are so well manicured, and I love it. I don't have to take care of it, and I get to enjoy and look at it. I got a fridge there with some cool drinks, and I sit in my garage with my door open like an excited guy looking at everything. My brother and I have been doing it. We were eating some Middle Eastern food the other day, looking at this hummingbird just go and just sit and connect, with this flower, and it was so cool. Hummingbirds are so cool. So I got so excited about hummingbirds, I went on my iPhone and I Googled how fast their little hearts and their things. Do you know the speed is 1,260 beats a minute? And they breathe 250 times a minute. Isn't that incredible? But what's more incredible is I'm sitting in my couch, in my garage, in my man cave, looking out, and I can Google and find that information. Is it just me? Is that exciting? I mean, this is how good life is. And the question is, what is holding you back from living with overflowing joy? And I would suggest nothing except our own permission. To let ourselves be childlike, to let ourselves be fascinated and appreciated by the glory and the wonder that God has given us every day of our lives. to tell our families how much we love them and appreciate them, and our friends, to appreciate our church and our gardens and everything. There's so much good. When we live in God, you can't help but also live with an overflowing joy. Somebody once said, I love life, but it's just so daily. And the question is, when will I ever learn to live in God? And the fact is, the answer is daily. It is a moment by moment, minute by minute, experience by experience opportunity for us to choose. Every one of us wants a better life. And you know how we do it? It's by setting our priorities. And the number one priority is to seek ye first. Seek God first with meditation that's daily, that is consistent, that is joyful. And then is whenever you get triggered, think about God, not the problem. God is here and now and all is well. And then remind yourself of who you are. I'm the son and daughter of the living God. I am created in the image and likeness of God. I am the light of the world. When you do, I guarantee you, you will live with trust and you'll be calm and peaceful. You will live with a curiosity to possibilities, and you will live with an overflowing joy. Our lives can be better. So let's make the answer today and every day to the question, when will I ever learn to live in God? God bless you all. Go ahead.
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God unfolds us. The presence of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is.
Amen.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
God bless you, brother. Great day and a wonderful week.